What is up, Ravens flock? Huge shout out for your support for the 410 Sports Talk. James and Glenn are the best in the business. They're killing it right now. They love talking Raven talk. Make sure you go subscribe to their channel. Let's go Ravens. Big trust.
Welcome in to another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I am James Haskell, along with my co-host Glenn Martin, and we are excited to bring you guys the opinions of both Glenn and I, and talk about something that is certainly swirling around the NFL right now, and probably the world. It's a really controversial subject, and we're not going to get into the shoulds or shouldn'ts of vaccinations, but the NFL has released the restrictions of players that are and that aren't. So what we're going to focus on today is not whether you should, not whether you shouldn't, all that stuff. We're going to talk about what players can do if they are in comparison to what players can do if they aren't, and how we could foresee it impacting our team, the Baltimore Ravens. So Glenn, let's I guess the best place to start would be kind of running through this list and the comparisons, the have you been vaccinated, haven't you been, what you can and can't do. So I think there's 12 items or so on this list.
Something
between
like that, yeah.
Fully vaccinated and not. So we can run right down it if you want.
Yeah, let's do it. So first of all, fully vaccinated players will not be subject to daily testing. I think I read earlier it's once every 2 weeks they will be tested, but not the daily testing. Now, if you're unvaccinated, you will still be doing the everyday testing. So as soon as you arrive, you will be tested immediately until they get those results. Then they will allow you to participate in some activities. Now, fully vaccinated players are also not required to wear a mask at the club facility or during team travel. Not fully vaccinated players will still be asked to wear a mask at the club facility and during any travel. So, man, I mean, right there, that's a big difference as far as just convenience, right? Just what you're expected to do and added steps throughout your day. Then they have no physical distancing is required in club facility with other vaccinated individuals. And while if you're not fully vaccinated, you still must remain physically distant from others in the facility. So you're still going to have that 6 feet of physical distance from other players if you're not fully vaccinated. So right there, just those first three, a lot of inconvenience, a lot of differences between the two.
Yes, certainly. In that I know that testing is not something that people enjoy and look forward to. Just doing that every day before you go to work is not something that's going to be fun. And then, like you said, being physically distant and also, I mean, I think other ones may have more of an impact on the team, but even having to remain physically distant from others in the club facility and do, that requires more thought, more time apart from, to make sure logistically that it all works, right? Yep. Now, I know we've been in this for more than a year now, so teams have kind of got it, but it's certainly something that I'm sure teams don't really want to deal with. So it'll be interesting to see how teams address that. Now, following that, you go down to the next 3 bullet points. So you have no quarantine if you're vaccinated after high risk exposure to COVID, where on the other side, you must quarantine. So this right here gets right into it, right? Because now the NFL has the I'm assuming they're still going to make you wear the bracelets that can track you and tell you if you were near someone that had it or considered high risk. So now you can talk about missing 3 games or not.
At least one.
Yeah, at least one, absolutely. And then of course the travel restrictions. So travel restrictions in effect, and I'm assuming that is like outside of football travel. Yeah. And things like that. And then no capacity limits in the weight room when you're fully vaccinated, and then 15-player limit in the weight room if you aren't. So this one is interesting to me because I'm assuming that at this point, every team is a mixed bag. I'm just guessing that no team, I could be wrong, but I'm guessing that no team has every player vaccinated at this point. This is just my guess, right? Based on
just the numbers.
Right. And then on top of it, aside from that, think about like that each team is really a microcosm of society. Right. So yeah, there's the sheer number of it. And then on top of that, there's everyone with their different outlook on it. And so I will be interested to see, do you think that there will be, we look at these last 3, the travel restrictions, the potential of missing games, and then having to change things up in the weight room. Do you think there will be, not from coaches, but pressure from teammates to say, hey, like, just go get it done? right? Like we want to get after this. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I think there'll be pressure from teammates before a situation arises, but certainly after. If there's a big time key player who's now forced to quarantine because he was at a birthday party or whatever the situation
A strip
where
club, like what's his name?
Yeah, who was it that went to
The Redskins quarterback?
Oh, was it Haskins? Yeah.
Haskins, yeah.
But yeah, so whatever reason, if there's any player that is through contact tracing forced to miss an important game, and look, this isn't like the NBA or the NHL or MLB where you can lose, you can go on a losing streak and it not really affect the season because it's such a long season. Even with the additional game, making it 17 games, every game counts. I mean, the NFL is almost playoffs as soon as the year starts because it's such a competitive league. So if you're forced to miss a big-time game, especially if it's against a division rival and you're fighting for playoff seeding or playoff position or playoff berth, and now you miss a game, I absolutely think that other players will look to that person, and there could be some tensions there. I mean, I think that it can cause a number of things to kind of be an issue, and man, it could get ugly. But also,
because before you move on, the other thing too that plays into this is, attorneys are like leeches, right? Like how many of these guys are being fed the fact that like they can't discriminate. Like, I don't know all the laws, but workplace discrimination is certainly a thing, right?
Yeah.
We know that exists and people go to court for it every day. So like at what point do lawyers get involved and say, hey, this is clear workplace discrimination? Players that really don't want to get vaccinated. We've seen Cole Beasley come out. Does he come to the table with a high power group of attorneys and say, hey, I'm going to do this with my teammates because you can't do this to me based on law, and it goes to court, this, that. So there's so many potential.
That's a good point.
What
about players who have maybe some medical reasons why they can't get the vaccine? I mean, I know there's some people in my personal life that I know that can't get the vaccine because of already, pre-existing medical issues. And I think, just by the numbers, there's bound to be a few of those players in the NFL who have reasons, medically that they're just not allowed to get the vaccine. I wonder how the restrictions will impact them. It could certainly, and then this one's just from a social standpoint,
it's just sucky.
Yeah, fully vaccinated players can eat in the cafeteria with other fully vaccinated individuals, but players who are not must remain physically distanced in the meal room and may not eat with teammates. And also,
do you think that Roger Goodell kind of chuckled when he saw that one written up? It was like, it makes you think of being a kid in school, right? Not getting to eat with your friends at lunch.
And I mean, lunch is like, that's where you cut it up. I mean, that was when I was able to be my clown self and had my audience of my friends at the table and everybody goofing. And
look, our very own Steve Bisciotti, before he was owner of the Ravens, started a very successful business and is quoted in saying that it is not a real relationship until you break bread.
There you go. So you can't even break bread with your teammates. Can't even mesh and bond in the cafeteria. Staff also must grab and go. No meals in the cafeteria. And then this is another one. It could start affecting their pockets. Vaccinated players, no restrictions on social media marketing and sponsorship opportunities.
Crazy.
Unvaccinated, they are not allowed to have any social media marketing or sponsorship activities. They're all banned. I mean, they're not permitted to participate in any. So that no TV interviews, none of that stuff.
Because even if it's not directly going to hit your, so like, say it's the Ravens marketing and media and like you're saying TV interviews. So you're not directly getting that money, but the more time you get with your helmet off as a player and to show who you are as an individual, like we've seen Mark Ingram, because he's parlayed his ability to be a good person in front of the camera and the microphone into Tide commercials.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like those things matter.
No doubt about it. I mean, because the NFL with the helmet, it's less easy to recognize these players with their helmet off. I mean, NBA, it's so much easier just to spot them because they don't have a helmet on covering their entire face with a dark face mask or, a big, face mask grill and all that stuff. No, you can see their face. So you're right. Anytime you're in front of the camera, you're increasing your visibility. And so now they can't do that if you're not vaccinated. Then also, you can't even use the steam room or the sauna if you're unvaccinated, whereas if you are, you can use it freely. And then finally, you may interact with vaccinated family and friends during team travel if you're vaccinated. If you're not even allowed to leave the hotel to eat in restaurants. You can't interact with anyone outside of the team while traveling for road games. So, man, it's a lot of inconveniences, a lot of social issues, a lot of it's going to cause some issues. There's no doubt about it throughout the league. Throughout every team is going to have, like you said, Jimbo, those pockets of people who aren't vaccinated, and they're going to start feeling like they're being picked on. They're going to start feeling like they're being isolated from the rest of the team. And even if it doesn't become issues with attorneys and law, at least it's going to at least prevent them from bonding and having that camaraderie, which every player who retires says the thing they miss the most about the sport is the camaraderie and those times in the locker room with their teammates.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is going to be a really intriguing thing to continue to follow. So I guess, to kind of put a bow on this thing, how do you think that the Ravens, we'll focus on the Ravens, of course, because that's our team. How do you think that they're handling this? My guess, and I'd like to know your thoughts as well. My guess is they're setting everything up as if no one is vaccinated. So that way they can be fully operational in a situation where no one is vaccinated, right? So they can, whether that's parsing up the weight room, whether that's spreading everything out in meeting rooms, because I don't think that, like I said, any team is going to be fully vaccinated. So they might as well do that. And do that to their to the full capacity instead of trying to do two things. That's my guess. At least that's how I would attack it. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they obviously put in a bunch of protocols last season to get through that season, and so it's already in place. I'm sure the machines in the weight room are already distanced. So let's just keep it that way, and until further notice, because there could be very key members of this team, including the top of the top. You never know. It could be, Lamar Jackson was asked about this. He's kind of never really gave a committed answer on which way. He just said it's a personal decision, which of course we respect that. But it could be all the way to the top and have Lamar Jackson if he's forced to miss games. I mean, you don't know how that can affect the entire season, how it could affect possible playoff berths. So it's a big issue. I think John Harbaugh did come out and he said that the entire staff is fully vaccinated, which is a good thing, because I did see that if assistant coaches aren't vaccinated, they're not allowed in team meetings with their players. So as a coach, I don't
think
I'm
not giving an opinion, but I mean, crazy to think that that's,
I mean, how can you coach if you can't be around your players? So it almost looks like it's a requirement almost to at least fulfill your job responsibilities as a coach. So it's good to hear that at least the coaches can all, do their responsible, commit to their responsibilities and be able to get them done, because, man, you lose your tier 1 or tier 2 status as a coach, you might as well not be a coach. You can't, you can't do your job. So I'm glad to hear that at least they'll be able to conduct their duties. But, man, it's going to be interesting to see, because there's no doubt every team has a pocket of players that aren't going to be vaccinated, and they're going to have to deal with these restrictions.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many layers to this, legally, competitively. This is the fact that this is a precedent. I don't think the NBA or the MLB has yet set these up. I think the MLB has some. But overall, I don't think they're this.
The NBA, we did just see, didn't we see Chris Paul be affected by some of this?
You're right. Yeah. So there are regulations in place, but these hard and fast, like going into camp, there was still some will they or will they not hold LeBron James to it? These NFL, they've put a line in the sand.
Oh, and by the way, Jimmy, let's add this. Clubs are allowed to issue fines of a game check up to $50,000 for the first offense, and then more thereafter. So if they catch an unvaccinated player at a nightclub, a bar, a house party, a concert, etc., they can fine the player on top of having them now have to quarantine. So it's a double. I mean, it's a lot. That it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. See what type of star power is affected by this. Because let's be honest, it's the stars that move the needle here, and so it's going to be really interesting when we start seeing some star players affected by these new protocols.
And then the very last thing I'll say is that, like, how do these reporters and media and how do they circumvent the HIPAA laws, right? Like, you can't just ask a person or you can't, because people have certain rights to privacy from a medical perspective. And so, there's so many things here, but certainly competitively, obviously it is advantageous to get it done while we're not, picking a side here, but it seems to make the most sense. The NFL really wants these guys to get to get vaccinated. So let us know your thoughts.
Oh, finally, I want to say one last thing.
Yeah.
Big time for street free agents and tryout players. If you're unvaccinated and you're not on a team, you still have to go through, a 5-day testing process for just to try out, and then street free agents as well. So if you don't think that impacts whether a team is even going to look at you,
oh yeah,
I mean, it's a huge, huge deal. So you're talking about jobs on the line here as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point there. Let us know what your guys' thoughts are, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
See you.